Thanks for staying in the room. There's very few audience left, but let's get started. So, my name is Smit, and today I'll be talking about stackdriver. It's a tool by Google that can help you to improve observability of your application. So let's get started. Before we begin, a little bit about me. I work for Dubizzle as a software engineer, and I've been in Dubai since last 6 months. Before that, I was chief architect of Corridor Funds. I was the first employee of the company, and throughout my career, I have contributed to some of the projects of this organization. I was at Red Hat. I contributed to some web projects of Cluster. Then when there was this Cross Asia, I contributed to one of the project. I think I submitted few PRs, and I contributed to the plugin called Angular Autocomplete of NGUI. I used to run a GDG chapter in Gandhinagar back in India. You can follow me on GitHub and LinkedIn. So yeah, let's get started. So just so that we are all on the same page, let me quickly tell you what's observability. So many of you, like these days, you know, like microservices and all these buzzwords are coming. Like many people might be thinking that observability is another buzzword. Actually, it's not. It's a term that has been there since ages. It comes from science and engineering, control science and engineering. You know, it says that. So according to Wikipedia, the definition of observability is it's a measure of how well the internal states of system can be inferred from the knowledge of external output. In layman terms, of course, it means that, you know, what can you do with by collecting the behavior of your software and, you know, accumulating it to improve the user experience. For example, you know, you have a search app, and you know, you will monitor that, you know, every time I perform a search, I log it somewhere, and if let's say that, you know, my logs go down between 8 to 10 a.m., I should probably get alerted because something might be wrong because I have a very high traffic on my website between 8 to 10 a.m., right? So stackdriver can actually help you to achieve this. It's a tool that was acquired by Google, I think in 2013. I don't know the exact year, but it was somewhere around that. And it offers you know, very good integration with all kinds of tools and services for monitoring and management. The core features about stackdriver is that, you know, it is built for multi-cloud it is built to work with hybrid cloud, even though it is on GCP. It works well even with AWS, even with Azure. So stackdriver wasn't part of GCP initially, so they have the foundation that supports the hybrid clouds. Secondly, this is a very attractive thing about people who choose stackdrivers these days. Is that, you know, any tool that you take like New Relic or Datadog, its first class citizen is the web application or the application that is running, whereas, you know, monitoring for all these other things like, you know, your database, your cache, etc., etc., it doesn't have the native integration for it, so you might get some insights, but you have to translate those. This is the cloud system. Yeah. But you might get insights about how your server is behaving, what is the memory usage. You might be able to, you know, parse the logs, and you might be able to connect the links. But stackdriver actually does that for you. It has the well-built integration for many of the tools that you use in your day-to-day life. And last but the least, since it is a part of GCP, it integrates really well and very seamlessly with the services offered by Google Cloud Platform. For example, you are using, let's say, Google Kubernetes Engine, and you want to, you know, do some monitoring. If you are not part of Google Cloud, maybe you have to install an agent, or, you know, run some service that might do some monitoring, or deploy a pod on Kubernetes that might do some monitoring. But if you are using GKE and the stackdriver comes out of the box with it, so you don't have to even configure the API key of stackdriver in your Kubernetes cluster. Everything will happen out of the box, and we'll see how seamlessly we can use stackdriver with application to do different things. Some of the main features of stackdriver are live debugging. So this live debugging isn't offered by anyone these days. No New Relic, neither Datadog or any AWS service that offers support for live debugging. In many cases, you might have came across situations where there is some issue and you are in a dilemma that what's happening, and sometimes you might have this feeling from inside that if I could debug this into production, if I could put a debugger into production and debug this code, my life would be so much better. But you can't do that. You can't block a request to debug the code because it's production, right? And it's even a bad practice to log in into a production server and do stuff. In that cases, usually what people do is they release a hotfix. They release a new version with some more detailed logging, or they enable the debug logs in the application. So for that you have to do another release. So Google Stackdriver offers you ability to debug the code without doing a new release. You can put a break, you can point on which line you want to debug, and it will let the request pass, but it will give you enough context about that particular transaction or a request that you can debug. Like for example, it will give you the detailed stack trace. It will give you what was the value of the given variables, who called the function, etc., etc. Error reporting, like every other solution, Stackdriver also offers error reporting. So if there is an exception and you want to know before your customers complain you, yeah, Stackdriver offers that too. So you can send all the errors and configure alerts. You can do tracing. So let's say that your code is performing slow in production, and you might want to know what part of code is performing a bit slow, or how my transactions are behaving. You can do that. It also supports distributed tracing. So if you are having a microservice architecture, you can leverage Stackdriver to do distributed tracing. Logging, I think this is my favorite thing, because usually what people do is they go with solutions like Datadog and New Relic, and then they deploy their own ELK stack, especially for logging. And I believe maintaining ELK itself is a big pain in the ass. I have done it myself for a client and I regretted it, and I moved to Datadog eventually. They had a logging solution which was in beta at that time, but I still decided I'm not gonna host my own Elasticsearch cluster, because I was sending 1 million hits a day and my server used to just tank up, and also it wasn't cost effective to run like 4 or 5 node Elasticsearch cluster to just do logging. Then uptime monitoring, like people use different services like pingdums to monitor the uptime of site. Well, Google Stackdriver has that for you as well. Lastly, like I'm trying to sell you Stackdriver now. So why would you choose Stackdriver over other solutions? First, it fits well with your application. It has this very nice native integration. And second, the pricing model that it offers is much better than what is being offered by other providers for application performance monitoring, infrastructure monitoring. So if you go to New Relic or Datadog or deploy your own Elastic APM, your pricing model would look like how many servers are you running, or what is the configuration of these servers. Well, it's not in the case of Stackdriver. Stackdriver charges you for all the data you gather. So let's say if you are doing application performance monitoring, it will charge you for the hits that you send to Stackdriver instead of charging you for the instance size on which you are running it. So this becomes very cost effective. I myself tried to calculate the cost with the cost calculator of GCP, and the one that New Relic provides, and there was a, I think, 25% price cut in using stackdriver. I don't have the numbers, unfortunately, because I did it on my phone, but maybe, you know, I can share some resources after the talk or put it on Twitter and you can grab it. So enough of me, you know, trying to tell you some cool stuff about stackdriver. Let's, you know, actually get our hands dirty. So I've prepared a demo. Let me show you. So Google Cloud Platform has this really nice place where you can, you know, oh,
You forgot to say.
yeah, I'll just mirror my screen now. Yeah, so the screen is visible properly, right? Yeah, so GCP has this very nice thing called Cloud Shell, which comes with, you know, all the stuff you need, you know, to play with, or, you know, sometimes just like query the services, call the API, you know, build containers, you know, for all the like testing stuff, you can use Cloud Shell. So I have two things. I have a app where, you know, I can where you can put list of guests and perform cloud operation on it. And then I'm simulating the load with a distributed load testing tool to just make this demo feel like, you know, we are having some real traffic. So let me just quickly show you the app that we have. So this is the app, hopefully it will put up. Yeah. So this is an app that will show you guest list. You can add a guest, delete a guest. So, you know, let's start with the first one. You know, I have left some bug in my code, and when I hit submit, it's actually failing. Okay, I want to know, I want to debug this code in production because because the stack trace that I am having in the error page where error reporting is happening is not very helpful. I want to see the values of variable, or I want to do some stuff live. So all you have to do is you can go to this sidebar, click on debug, and you can go to the file where your code is. It will so since this is a Google App Engine deployment, you know, it integrates out of the box. If you are not on Google App Engine, if you are having your own deployment, you might have to install the SDK of stackdriver and initialize stackdriver with the API keys or the license keys. But since it is in the Google Cloud ecosystem, it fits really well. So this is my update handler, and I want to, you know, put a breakpoint here and here. But I don't want that while I'm debugging my user get blocked. Of course, you don't want that. And I also don't want to make a release. So I'm not making a change in code. Now see what will happen. This will tell me that it is waiting for a request, if you see on the side, and when the next request will come, it will allow you to debug without blocking the user. So let's try to update again. So oops. Okay, yeah. So now if I I'm sorry, I tried this while developing this thing. It worked. Yeah, so here, if you see, uh, yeah, here it's here. So R if you see here, it's actually a string. It's not a dictionary, right? So it is telling us that you have to. So you get the idea that now this is the error that it is not the string indices must be integer, not str. We are trying to get the value that sorry. We are trying to get the value from the request body, but we didn't parse the JSON of it. So we probably have to parse the JSON and do a release. So this is production debugging. Uh, so if we update this here, close, and please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions, or if I'm going too fast. If you see while this is deploying, I'll show you. If you see the code, there is no place where I have put that I want to these are the stack driver keys, or these are I want to use stack driver. You can just enable stack driver in stack driver is enabled by default. In case if you don't want to use it, you can just disable it from the Google App Engine console. So yeah, it's super seamless. And now if we try again, this will work. Yeah, it worked. No errors. So demo 2, production debugging, that's what I showed you. Now let's say that I want to configure alerts. So I want to make sure that my app is running. If there are any 500s, I want to get notified. If my requests start performing slow, I want to get notified. Or if all of the sudden traffic drops, maybe it is that network is down or my Nginx is down, due to which now the traffic is not coming to the web server. I still want to get notified. In that case, stackdriver has ability for you to create alerts. So you can go to click on monitoring and and you can, so while I was testing, there were some incidents that were created. So you can route all the incidents that stackdriver creates when a violation happens to all the services that you commonly use these days, like VictorOps, PagerDuty, etc. To configure an alert, you can go and click create policy. I have already created a policy, so I'll just show you. So out of the box, stackdriver offers you this uptime check. So in case if your Google App Engine app goes down, you will immediately get notified, and you can act. So for example, if we just deploy the code with, let's say, syntax error, application should go down. Stackdriver has a mobile application that you can use. So in case if you are not using VictorOps or PagerDuty or anything, you can and you want to still get the alerts on your phone, you can use this. So now our application would have gone down, so definitely, and I believe within some time we should get an alert that something has happened. The uptime check, I think, is of 5 minutes. So the uptime check is currently pointing to the front end, and our front end is up. So maybe we should modify the uptime check to point to REST/query, which is the basic get route that we have in our application. I'll just modify it to that, and I'll say test. Responded with internal server error, save. So I think this should create a incident as soon as the check runs again. It runs every 5 minutes and it will check from all the locations. So in case if you are having a CDN in between and your CDN went down, you'll still get alerted. Let's probably look at the other alerts, and I think in the meantime we should probably get the alert that your application is down, and we can see. So alerting and how to see the list of alerts. Yeah, so yeah, I've created this 4 alerts. This is a performance alert. So here what I've configured is that if my route which is and I'll show you how easy it is to create. So I said if my Google App Engine, any route on my Google App Engine application, responds in more than 1 second, and that happens consistently for 1 minute, then create an incident. And in case if I'll simulate this kind of violation by slowing down a route, and you will be able to see that it created an incident. But just for apart from that, you can create alerts like data store reads. So the common assumption is that if you have a high traffic on website, your number of reads from the data store should be at least a certain value, right? So if that doesn't happen, like let's say all the traffic drops at a given point in time, then yeah, something is wrong. Maybe your application is down due to that reason. Your data store reads have dropped, or maybe your application is not getting requests because your load balancer is down, or your Nginx is down, or Apache, whatever you use for proxying. So here you can here I have said that number of data store requests, if they are absent for 3 minutes, which is like ideal scenario, that if you're not getting any traffic for 3 minutes on your website during any peak hour, you are assuming that you have like on an average 100 requests per second on your website, and if all of a sudden the traffic goes away, then create an incident, and this will create an incident and send you an email like this. this one is the right one that I'm showing. No. So yeah, this is how the incident will look like, that the number of data store requests for this particular data store has dropped. So please check, and once you have got this alert, you can acknowledge it or mark it as resolved, and it will just shut up. Because sometimes it happens that the things have went down, but it will keep sending you alerts for the same thing again and again, and you might get annoyed or overwhelmed. So you can mark it as acknowledged, or mark it as a known issue, so that it will not keep telling you again and again that yeah, this is a problem. Similarly, you can create other two policies. I'll show you all these policies first that I've created, and then we'll live demonstrate. I'll show you how they work. Like we'll simulate the things. So, or maybe you release something, and all of a sudden, the error spikes up, which happens commonly at many organizations. That you release something, you are having a microservice architecture, and you changed something here, and this service started failing, or this part of application started failing, and now you don't know what's happening. So in that case, you can create a 5xx alert, where if your application is responding with 500 status code for more than once. So for critical routes, you can configure it 0 or 1, like as low threshold as you want. And for some routes where you are expecting that it's likely to fail, you can have a high threshold. But I'm assuming that my give me the list of guest route shouldn't ideally fail unless something is wrong. So I've set the threshold to 1, that if the number of 500s in 1 minute goes above 1, then please notify me, and this will actually notify you. So I think the last policy, which is the uptime. I believe we already looked at the uptime check, where we were planning to hit the /query /query, and if it responds us with invalid value, if it acts like it is down, then yeah, do something. So the uptime checks are still passing. Not sure why. Yeah, the checks have failed. So for this 3 region, the checks have run and they have failed, as you can see. So if you have configured, what happened? Yeah. So if you have configured where to route these alerts, you might get notified via email, or you might get a push notification on your app. Similarly, I simulated the load on my website, and the route didn't have the pagination. So my my database was taking tremendous amount of time. So this configured that the performance has dropped significantly, and in that case, like something is wrong, your performance has dropped. You can probably go to tracing and see the trace that what part of your application is slow, and try to fix it. So this will give you a detailed trace of what your route is doing. So in my case, what was happening, I had 10,000 records in my guest list data store, and I was trying to retrieve them all together, and there was no pagination. So it was hitting the data store, and by default the fetch method brings 20 record, and then if you iterate again, if you do .next, it will bring another 20 records. So it was doing it for like like 20 divided by 10,000 times, and my account was taking forever to load. So the solution, the quick fix to that would have been that I increase the fetch size till I implement the pagination in my application and do a release, and then keep monitoring that does the performance change. Maybe increase the threshold a little bit, and then release the proper fix of implementing pagination. So I think I don't have enough time. I had a demo, but I can share it with you after. I'll probably put it on my Twitter or put it on GitHub. It's actually there on GitHub, so you can probably play with it after this event, and let me know if you have any questions. So there is this repo called load test config test app, which is in which I have put all the load test code to perform the actual load test. So what my load test is doing basically is that it's performing inserts. Like distributed inserts. So this was running on GKE, so I was running 10 workers. So 10 workers simulating 100 users per second. It was calling the create guest API, and then there was this guest list API. And I was trying to simulate real traffic with it, and wanted to show you how these alerts actually act in production. Any questions? All right. Well, thanks for listening to me.